I think it's time I toss this apple out. It's been a prop in my studio for several weeks now, and it's starting to get a little mushy. GameMasters here, and before this apple begins to leak out all over my books, I should likely toss it. But that's not the point of today's video. Today, I want to go over what exactly the new 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide book is and who it's going to be made for. And I'll tell you up front, it's a book that really is made for the beginning DM, but there is some meat on its bones that even a seasoned DM can chew on. I'll explain as we move through the basics of what this book is going to offer. We've explored the front cover in past videos, and while we've shown the back cover, I want to point something out. Down in the lower corner, we have the ISBN box, and in that, we can see the price is $49.99, which by today's standards is a pretty good price, all things considered. Yeah, $50 is still a few cheeseburgers, but when you consider that any given movie you go to see in the theater is going to come close to hitting that $50 mark, especially after you pay for yourself, your date, plus drinks, plus snacks, all you're going to get is about 2 hours worth of entertainment. You might get a little more entertainment after the movie if you're lucky. Or you can spend $20 more, 70 or so total for a new video game, and you'll get anywhere from 50 to 80 hours of entertainment. But with this $50 book, you've got an unlimited amount of hours worth of entertainment. And it's the same price as the DMG from 2014. And I can't begin to calculate how many hours that we've spent playing D&D over the past 10 years. Yes, I realize that this is just one book of 3, so it's going to be closer to $150 plus tax once all is said and done. And yes, I also realize that other countries are going to be spending more due to the cost difference in currency. But my point is, it's an okay price for a book that a new DM is going to be using multiple times. Back cover looked at, I want to go over the basics of what you're going to find inside. Again, this 2024 DMG is made for Dungeon Masters that are brand new to the game, but also for us older ones that have been playing since the early editions of the game. Inside, you're going to find a good step-by-step guide, several of them actually, on how to create adventures, even full-on campaigns, but also how to identify what type of player you've got sitting at your table and how to engage them. For example, do they enjoy acting in character? If so, you'll want to give them an opportunity to engage and interact with NPCs. Or perhaps you've got a player that really likes combat. This is going to recommend springing unexpected combat encounters in an otherwise humdrum jaunt on the way to town. While as experienced DMs, we're already likely doing these things. Again, keep in mind this new book is really catering to that new DM. But I don't want us older DMs to dismiss it because it does also include over 300 new and updated magic items, treasures, and from what I've seen, it also has about 18 new magic items that have not been seen before. You'll also find inside some of the more everyday issues that pop up for Dungeon Masters. What to do when players don't show up. What to do when someone is being overly demanding about a rule and they are clearly in the wrong. Situations similar to those. And it explains how to deal with those situations. While it doesn't go into super detail, it does provide enough information for that new DM to get a feel for what to do instead of dropping into Reddit and asking a question there and then getting blasted for being a noob, which, come on, is not necessary to blast someone because they're new at trying to run a game of D&D. To that end, if you are new and you have any questions at all, feel free to drop any of those questions down below in the comments or jump into my Discord. I've got a link to it down in the description. I'd love to help you out if I can. We're also going to see inside the new Dungeon Master's Guide new maps of older established locations such as Greyhawk, the overall landscape, as well as the city of Greyhawk. But 2 will be included maps that can be used for your own homebrew games. And I think that this is going to have a big appeal to that older DM that really cut their teeth on that Greyhawk setting. What's kind of cool about this is that we will see in this new book that the Greyhawk itself is being presented as a sandbox setting, similar to how Forgotten Realms box set was presented. It's just a setting. Here are the locations. This is kind of what happened in and around this location. Now you go and create adventures. In the new 2024 Dungeon Masters Guide, we're also going to get Bastions. These are more or less strongholds that are built by the players themselves. And I'm on the fence about this one. We've always had player-built strongholds, player-built castles, player-built dungeons, you name it, going back to the early days of the game. But it's never been something that has had a major set of rules associated with it. And by that, I mean this thing that they are introducing called Bastion turns. After about every 7 days of in-game time that passes, the DM can call for a Bastion turn in which the players can command the hired folks, the hired hands in their Bastion to craft items, trade for goods, whatever you can think of. Even defend the stronghold against other NPCs that would otherwise attempt to march in and take control. I would put it this way. I'm going to reserve my judgment on it until I can put it into practice. But I am confused as to why the Dungeon Master's Guide has this in there, has Bastions in it, and not the Player's Handbook. Because as James Wyatt, one of the game's designers, stated in a recent interview regarding Bastions, that it's not a knife that the DM can use to hurt the players by design. It's off limits for the Dungeon Master. Now, don't get me wrong, as a DM, I'm certainly not opposed to the players having a home base or the concept of Bastion turns. I just find it odd that something that is off limits for the Dungeon Master is going to be included in the Dungeon Master's Guidebook. I kind of feel like it's an attempt at broadening the sales from where only the DM would buy this book to players needing it to also buy it, or rather needing the book to buy. Needing to buy the book is what I'm trying to say, to have access to those rules. On the other hand, we do seem to have a shortage of Dungeon Masters, so perhaps this is actually a good marketing move. Get the players to buy the DMG for those rules, and perhaps another passage in that book is going to catch their eye, and that will spark an interest in them to become a new DM. While we go into the final bits of today's video, I want to thank my Patreon members as their contributions have made it so that I didn't need to take on a sponsored ad for today's video, and for that I cannot thank them enough. If you'd like to become a YouTube or Patreon member, I've got a link down in the description. As I mentioned, I wanted today's video to cover the basics of what you can find inside the 2024 DMG, and from what I've seen so far, I think it's set up great for a new DM, but it's got enough in it for an older DM to chew on. As we get closer to this book's release date, I'll be doing some more in-depth looks at several other elements found inside, deep dives, so be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss those videos when they come out. I think that this really leaves one big question remaining. Does an older DM really need this 2024 version? If I'm being totally honest, I really don't think that it's going to offer up anything revolutionary to your toolbox. For a newer DM, 100% I think this book is going to be a must-have. But yeah, for older DMs, not so much. However, just like this apple that's been sitting around my studio for weeks and is getting a touch on the mushy side, sometimes you can't be afraid to toss something out that's tired and worn out. And in that respect, I do feel that this book will offer up some material, something fresh and something new to bite into. And I think that it will give you new ways to view and use the tools that you're already familiar with. All of this said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it down in the comments. Is this something you are looking forward to, this new book? Or are you going to stick with an older edition? If it's an older edition you're going to stick with, which one and why? Again, let me know the specifics down in the comments. And until next our paths cross, may you weave some fantastic adventures and avoid mushy, rotten apples.